The second thing that was on my chart was the idea of microsites. A microsite is basically a small website connected to a particular theme. So let's say, for example, a website called Podcast ELT. Okay. So Podcast ELT. Now, let me think. I run an online course about using podcasts in the classroom. So if I wanted to bring traffic to my website, I would set up a mini website under the address podcastelt.com, and what I would do would be put maybe 10 to 12 pages of content on that website. They'd be articles about using podcasts in ELT, maybe some links to good ELT podcasts, links to resources like Audacity and things like that for making podcasts. And at some point on that website, there would be a link back to my website, back to the course that I run about podcasts. So it's kind of like a spider's web. There's my main website in the center, and around the edge of that I build lots of mini websites which are very, very targeted in content. And all those mini websites link back to my website. So basically what I'm trying to do is to attract people in through the mini websites to my main website, where they actually might, offer me some work or contract me to do something and things. And these microsites we've reduced ours now, but basically because of a time issue. But at one point we did have all of those running. Now we have a certain subset of those which are working very, very well. So small websites which drive traffic back to your main website. You'll have seen my blog, as you've mentioned, and that's great. My blog also drives a lot of traffic back to our website. What I try and do in my blog is I try not to advertise what we do, but I do write about things that concern me in my work. So I write about Second Life work I've done, I'll write about Second Life experiences I've had, I'll write about events we're running or events I'm going to speak at. I'll write about issues like the one you're discussing about online language schools. And inevitably at some point there'll be a link back to my website. There always is on the blog. And so again, by providing another resource, and I think an interesting resource, or at least I hope it is, people will read, they'll write comments, they'll go away to other places like you are in your Ning, they'll discuss it, but all the time in the back of their heads there's me, there's my company. A blog can be a very valuable tool. When you sit down and talk about it all like this, like I am, it actually sounds like a very kind of mercenary approach to marketing, but this has grown quite organically. We didn't start doing all these things at the same time. At some point it became obvious to me that we did have a strategy which was a very good Web 2 communication strategy in engaging with people and giving people multiple entries to us and what we do. So you'll have seen the blog. Twitter is, as I say, one of my it's Neil, that's a good question. I don't think it's easier at all. For me, it's not a question of easier. For me, it's being visible in places where people expect you to be visible. Now, and certainly, we're trying to attract kind of technically savvy people to do our courses, and people who at least are engaged with technology but maybe don't know how to use it in their teaching or their training. So for me, it's having multiple entry points to me, to my services, to my company. Okay, so you see, someone got to my blog after they saw a link on Twitter, and then maybe they'll go from the blog to the website. But for me, it's kind of it's having lots of entry points. It's like having lots of doors. If you've got one door, your website, then you're going to get a bottleneck, or not enough people will find it. But if you've got lots of channels leading into the same room, which is essentially my website, then there are lots of ways that people can get to me, my website, my company, and my services. So I don't think it's better so much, it's just more. and more of kind of current. Twitter is the darling of Twitter's the darling of the moment, I think. And it's great because I've been banging on about Twitter now for months and months and months, and using it for ages, and blah blah blah, and everyone's been saying how dull it is, and then you notice that finally Jeremy Harmer gets a Twitter account and he thinks it's fantastic. Now, he got a Twitter account because he read an article I wrote in a magazine. So there's another way of, that cross-pollination. And then he wrote to Herbert Puchter and Scott Thornbury saying, Twitter's fantastic, you must get on Twitter. And now they're both on Twitter. But they're on Twitter because Jeremy read the article that I wrote. Well, I wrote with Nikki. So you see, exactly. So you see how these things work. So there we are. I'm good for me. I'm a Twitter pioneer. If you want a great Windows app, actually I think it works on a Mac too. If you want a great application for using Twitter outside the web, then TweetDeck is absolutely fantastic. I have it open all day, every day. I engage with a lot of people on Twitter. I answer messages that are sent to me. I mean direct messages that are sent to me. I also answer general queries in Twitter. So I think, like a lot of other people, I think Nergis is the same, we're probably considered to be helpful people. Not approachable people. And so people will look out for us in places like Twitter, and people will look out for us in places like Second Life, which I'll also come on to in a second. But again, it's more exposure. But on the other side, I have to say that Twitter now is currently my best source of information, my best source of research, my best source of new websites, new links, new applications, and general information. It's the one place I turn to now to get most of my input on a daily basis, not only in terms of news and personal messages and things, but also professional development, and I can't recommend it too highly. Like any other tool, of course, it depends on the size of your network. So it takes a little time in Twitter to get going. And Nergis, you see, exactly, big fan of Twitter. Yeah, much faster. That's the other thing. It's instant. There's a certain skill to using it beautifully because you can only write 140 characters each time. So there's a little bit of skill, and it's fun. It's a fun tool. Highly recommended. Another thing that we do, or I do quite a lot, is I engage with online communities by email discussion group or Yahoo groups. On the screen you'll see a couple of postings from the Second Life educators list, so that's people talking about education in Second Life. And again, for me, it's a place where I can go to find answers to questions I have or issues or problems I have, but it's also a place where I can again be very helpful. And one of the postings you can't see is the one at the back, is me answering a question that someone had. They wanted to do something in Second Life, and I'd already done it. And so I said, look, Rob, okay, Bob, I've done it. Here's a link to my website where you can get the free tool that I developed to do it. Result, well, Bob goes to my website, and okay, he's getting a free tool, so he's going to be very happy anyway. But maybe he's going to have a look around. Maybe he's going to have a look around the website too. Maybe he'll find something he likes, like, I don't know, an online course. Again, as I say, when you put this in very stark details, it all sounds a little bit mercenary, but it's not like that. I mean, I enjoy being part of these communities. I enjoy contributing to them. They just happen to have a knock-on effect in my professional life. So, mailing lists.